Oh well. I guess I
Let's
can't
start
use
the
my.
recording. There it goes. It's going. Okay. Anyone have anything you want to say before we get started? Who's buying what, experience-wise?
82.
I bought Ward for thwart the supernatural.
Okay. Let me look that up.
So basically, I can keep beasties at a distance, and
That's the unnatural.
Three.
Repel the unnatural ward. The hunter can extend the area
Yeah.
of protection to include an area roughly 2 meters around them, with an additional meter for each success in the margin. The creature affected cannot move closer to anyone in this area, nor engage them in brawl or melee. Nice. Okay.
it's sort of like the opposite of social distancing.
Yeah.
You have to be within 6 feet.
And
My
It's been
favorite way.
6, right? 6 episodes.
say again? Serious, yes?
It's been 6 episodes, right?
This is number 7. Yeah. So there's been 6,
Okay,
so
cool.
you have a total of 30.
All right. I'm holding tight, I think,
Okay.
at this point.
And Sarah bought specific.
I bought creature specialization, and then I bought another point persuasion.
Okay. Creature specialization under thwart the unnatural, and you bought it for vampires.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait,
and
so what does that
And
mean?
then I
It just
bought
means
another
you're better at.
It means
Right.
that, well, just having thwart the unnatural means that she actually gets a resistance roll when you try to mind wipe her now, like the same way a vampire
Oh, no.
does. And having this
Why would you pick that?
creature specialization
Dun,
I
dun.
don't know.
gains a 2 dice bonus.
Maybe she's had so many.
So she doesn't even know she has it in character. She has developed this from multiple.
He's
mind
developed a
fucking-
resistance.
Yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
wiped her too much.
Yeah.
Starting to work. Her immune system's fighting back.
Isn't that an episode of Rick and Morty where like all the white memories start coming flooding back? Or I think it's something else.
Well, that
No, that's an
Such a
episode,
great
yeah.
show.
at least.
Such a great show.
Yeah.
Did you ever flashy thing me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are. Let's go take a look at our last time, which I didn't change very much from last time because we didn't do anything last time except have a long conversation. So basically, I'm just going to reread the same thing and then I'll roll a little bit at the end. Where's my glasses? I can't see. Okay. Last time on the Reckoning of El Paso. It was finally time to put everything they had learned together and research what else they could. They needed to know what the man in gray was, or at least have some idea of the possibilities of what he could be. Letty introduced them to a book written in the 70s by, it's still spelled wrong, by a woman who claimed to be part of a blood cult. Some of the information in her book pointed to similarities with the man in gray. And I don't have it written on here, but as we all found out, she died about a year after that book's printed. Our hunters were put in touch with a friend of Letty's. Leonard Mesker is a history professor, but his side interest is collecting writings on the occult, especially anything about the legends, rituals, and creatures of immortality. He has tons of books and papers, some going back to the 15th century and the Inquisition. First, they found notes from a local priest in 1860 who told a story of a stranger who came to town after the murder of a family and killed what he claimed was a predator that was hiding in the local inn. Second, they found the story of an order of knights who burned a town to the ground after it had been the target of an attack by a creature of the night that fed on blood. They reported that the creature was hard to kill, and despite serious injury, would return to life after a single drop of blood to its lips. Locking eyes with the creature turned a knight into its slave, and the knight had to be killed. The creature was eventually beheaded, where it immediately turned to dust. Third, there was a report from a similar group in a sort of monster dictionary written by monks. The Ventru, leaders of the cursed kindred, the spawn of Cain. The curse gives them the strength of 10 men and the fortitude to withstand swords and arrows. With a look, they force men to kneel, and with a wave of their hand, they can change a man's memories. Their only weakness is the light of God, either by fire or by the holy light of the sun itself. As our hunters are gathering their specific information and begin to put a plan together, Sarah reveals the truth of her father. He is one of the blank bodies that met with the man in gray at the West Side Mansion. Can the other hunters trust her? Would she betray them to her father? And if she didn't, could her father use Ventru mind powers to get the information against her will? Do all blank bodies deserve to be killed? And would she be willing to kill her father if it came to that? As the conversation turned towards the idea of Sarah confronting her father, she covertly texted him, "Do you condone what Ortiz has done?" And we are going to open tonight at a French restaurant. So, in this restaurant, which is, it's late, it's like 9 in the evening or so, and we have a white-haired man sitting at a table across from the billionaire philanthropist James Clark, and they are having a conversation in hushed tones. At another table across the restaurant, Jack Levington and the woman who we once saw with the white-haired man are sitting also at a table, watching their respective employers and in their own conversation. I suppose Jack Levington isn't eating anything, but Nissa, which is her name, has already eaten 3 people's worth of food and hasn't stopped yet.
I'm jealous.
Jack is also somewhat jealous. He remembers those days of being able to eat normal food.
Yeah, and she looks up at Jack with kind of a smirking grin and slides a plate towards you. You look like you want some. It's
I
chicken
do.
wings.
I do, but I'm on a diet. Slides it back.
Yeah, sure you are.
Do I get the message? My phone.
Not yet. So,
So
what did you...
Sestonn, can you remind us who the white-haired man killed in who we witnessed the white-haired man killed?
He killed 2 of the man in gray's men in black.
Okay.
Well, he didn't
Nobody
himself.
significant.
Snipers did.
Gotcha. Nobody significant.
Nobody significant.
To
And
us.
of course, you guys aren't actually witnessing this scene either. This is just a side thing that is not going to take anywhere near as long as the Mandalorian side thing. That was retarded. I'm all for showing side
Mandalorian?
scenes of stuff, but it shouldn't be 80% of an episode. That was dumb. Okay, I'm not going to get on that track. Where was I? Oh. So, how well do you know him? She motions towards the table where they're talking.
time out for a second before I say anything to her. So how well do I know them? I'm actually not
Okay, so
sure myself.
3 days ago, you found out that fairies fucking exist. Nobody told you.
Okay.
Nobody told you. You found out when Ortiz came back, men that he took
Yep.
with him were killed, and he comes back and he says that well, what he said was that Mr. Wright claimed downtown and we're not allowed to go there anymore. And then James and Ortiz got in an argument, and yeah, come to find out, there are fairies, the fair folk, and Mr. Wright is one of them. And you guys had an agreement to stay out of each other's way, and apparently that has been canceled. And
Oh.
now Prince James can't even go to his hotel, at least not without risking entanglement with them.
So we're, dang, what the heck?
Everything's
What do you
falling
mean?
apart.
We're supposed to
And you
run
guys
this
are-
city.
And yeah, that's what you thought. And you guys are, well, I mean, you had a lot of population go down.
Yeah. Okay.
And-
So like
and
the
then there
fairies
was,
are pushing in on our turf.
It's been a week since the riots,
Oh my gosh.
and you guys were cleaning that up. And the riots had it was a really big part of that was downtown, and apparently that seems to be what pissed the fairies off.
Okay. And I'm here to protect James Clark.
And he's meeting with Mr. Wright.
Mr. Wright. Okay, who is connected to the Fae. Okay. The
Apparently,
fairies.
he's supposed to be the one that Ortiz encountered.
Okay. And Clark, that's not a pseudonym for Prince James, or is it?
No, that's his real name. Or at
This
least
is
it's-
okay, cool.
It is actually his
That-
real name, and he is using it
that-
again right now.
That's what I thought.
he
I
wasn't
just was a
using
little
it,
unclear.
Like before the 70s, he was somebody else, but right now he's back on the cycle of using his.
Yeah, I mean it's been about 50 years. Change it up. Okay, so she asked me how long I've known them.
Yeah, she asked how long you've known James. She's been asking you a few questions like that. She's kind of curious. She doesn't seem to know very much about vampires, so you can take this opportunity and ask her stuff too. You guys already been
Yeah,
talking for
actually.
a few minutes as you watch.
You know,
just
honestly, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not surprised. At this point, I'm not surprised that there's.
she
Of
really
course, there's
doesn't
something
seem
else. There's always
nervous
something else.
around you, though.
Which is off-putting. But okay. All right. Time in. I've known James for about 20 years or so. You could say we go back, but that's not exactly a long period of time for. You know.
I've known Mr. Wright for about 8 years now. He's a pretty
Okay.
good guy. He's been around for a lot longer than me.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Same situation on my end, I would say.
Yeah. So 20 years. Is that when you were what's the word?
Yeah.
Maid? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he make
You guys work the same way? I mean, obviously it's not the same, but I mean, are you made or?
No, we're born human, and then we kind of find ourselves in this explosion of magical power and awesomeness, and then we remember that we have hundreds and hundreds of past lives, and then over the next few minutes we forget them all, like waking up from a dream.
Wow.
I remember
Okay.
some of the most important parts of my past lives, but mostly I just remember that I had them.
So is this like a Buddhism, like reincarnation thing, or is this more of a like? Hey, sorry, just past lives
I guess
thing.
it's
That
kind
I'm.
I mean, I don't know too much about Buddhism, but I guess
Was he a fae?
kind
Is that how this works?
What it is, and she puts her plate to the side, like maybe she's finally done, and she leans over the table to speak with you in just a little bit quieter voice. So, way back in like, I don't know what year it was, but it was like 1400s, 1500s. I, the fey spirit of myself, put myself into a human to protect myself from the banality of the world that was threatening to destroy me. And when that human dies, then my fey spirit will eventually reincarnate into another.
Huh. Kind of like a ghost that like possesses new bodies.
Yes, but the human spirit is entangled with the Fey soul. So
Okay, so it's not like you're taking over in someone's body. It's
Right.
like it was you the whole time.
Exactly. Every life, I kind of have different personalities because the human spirit is fused in there. But the human spirit
Okay.
is part of me. You know, is part of it. I am Nissa. So
You know, that's a lot more kind of. Not gonna lie, I was expecting something a bit more tragic. I'm kind of used to it at this point. But that's actually mostly positive.
yeah.
It seems.
She leans
Um,
a little bit closer on the table and hushes her voice just a little bit more. Glances sideways over the table where Mr. Wright and Mr. Clark are having their discussion. Says he, on the other hand, took that body and killed the soul that was in it.
Up there it is. Okay, got it. Yep.
They're like that. They're different
Okay.
they're different from the rest of us.
Well,
And
that's
then she leans back.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be
Oh.
and she glances his way and leans back. She doesn't want to be caught like sharing secrets or anything. She seems
yeah.
she's way more afraid of him than she is of you. She seems more
Yeah, that's
curious
okay.
about you.
Yeah. Well, I guess just another person wrangled into stuff that they didn't necessarily have a say in, and now we're just trying to make it work.
Yeah. So that's your job. I mean, what happened to you? You didn't even get a say. They just surprise.
Oh no, absolutely no say. Just straight into it.
That's
So fundamentally, I mean, do you understand how we work, or?
I understand that you guys make each other if you have like if someone dies because you keep population limits. So if someone dies and you need to recruit a new one, then you just pick a person and make him one. Is that right?
Okay, so I mean, what the hell? Why not? I'll lean in and I'll just do a quick little. I'll kind of whisper more nonchalantly to her, just like, yeah. So we take our blood and we give it to someone else, and then that makes them into one of us.
Shit.
And also kind of makes them a slave. There's a lot of slavery going on. They don't like to use that word, but it's very much slavery. So that's kind of our thing. It's not great.
Wow, that's pretty horrible.
Yeah, it is.
And then she leans over the table again and says, you know, if you ever have some kind of emergency and you need to get away from them, you could go to Cielo Vista Mall, and if someone will eventually find you hang out long enough and just ask for sanctuary from anyone you come across that's acting kind of weird. And she leans back again.
Just give her a nod and then just say thanks. Unfortunately, I can't give you anything in return regarding that because there is not much.
Okay. It doesn't sound like I want it, you know.
Nope,
it
not at
sound
all.
Like you have a lot to offer.
Nope, I'm cursed.
She slides.
But you know what?
She slides you a plate again. So
yeah.
You can't eat. Is that the deal?
Oh no, I'll throw up. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
You're not really selling it, you know. It's not
no,
sounding great.
no, it's pretty terrible. I am absolutely cursed to be a parasite on the human race. They also don't like that term. The longer people stay around in this, the more kind of self-absorbed they get, and feel good about themselves. But
You know,
fundamentally,
That
it's
happens
bad.
with them too. And she hooks a thumb over towards the table. That happens with them too. The longer they're
Yeah.
around, the more afraid they are to die. In fact, they're all afraid. They don't know what happens when they die. I know what happens when I die. I come back. They have no idea what happens when they die because they didn't go through the proper channels to insert themselves into a human host. I mean, host is kind of the wrong word, but you know what I mean. They didn't do that. So they're all afraid to die because none of them have ever come back after being killed.
Well, you know what? Who's not afraid to die?
Well, I'm not afraid to die. I mean,
Okay, well,
it sucks.
Good for
man.
you.
Well, I mean, honestly, I am kind of afraid to die right now because, man, the world sucks, and I don't think it's going to be around for another go. Everything is just getting worse and worse every year. I think this is the time. Winter is coming. I know that's a phrase from some show, but winter is coming.
Yeah, we'll see if we can make it work. But it's refreshing
Now's when
talking
your
to
phone
someone.
goes off, you get a text message.
Yeah, and I check my text, and then my face just goes white. I'm just like,
Yeah.
like I will freeze.
Do you condone what Ortiz has done?
From
what
my
is it?
daughter.
Oh, you have a daughter. I didn't know you guys.
No, I didn't say that to her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I haven't said anything. I'm just looking down at it. You can ask me something while I'm just staring at this message.
Something happened?
Some stuff. Don't know if I can share. This is kind of private.
All right. Well, I got plenty to keep me busy. She pulls a plate back in front of me.
Yeah. Huh. I start to type for a second, and then I backspace, and type again, and then I backspace. So she's just seeing like the bubbles appear and then go away multiple times.
Selena, you keep seeing the response show up. In fact,
Yeah.
let's jump over there real quick. I don't have a thing open for them, so we'll just go to the title page. So you guys are in the middle of a conversation about whether or not Sarah should confront her father when she covertly sent this text. So I don't know if she's paying attention to it. Maybe she shows you guys, look, I just sent the text. I don't know. So that's up to you guys. That's exactly where we stopped because we didn't know what was going to happen.
We had already agreed to are we in Tuesday yet?
No. You are in the exact moment where you just sent him the text. You are in the middle of a conversation with everyone else, and they're talking to you about whether or not you should confront your father and what you should say and how you should say it.
If you decide to do that at all.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I already sent the message, guys.
Okay,
I'm
so you
gonna
pull out
ask
your
him.
phone and show him you already
What?
sent the message. You see the bubbles coming out saying that he's typing. And then the bubbles go away. And then the bubbles go on. And then the bubbles go away.
And then a message comes in that says, "Are you safe?" ?
And while that's happening, by the way, just to give you an idea, Jorge at this point he says real loud, "You what?" He's pacing. Like now he starts pacing back and forth. This is a guy who has a 4 in charisma, so he possesses significant personal appeal, draws followers ready. Like he's always got the charm on. It's completely off now. He is in straight, crisis mode. He's pissed about the fact that was sent, and he is in full, intellectual, what are we doing, justify this situation type mode. So you're seeing a completely different side of him. He's, I can't believe you just sent that and put us all at risk when we're not even, we're trying to figure out what we're trying to do.
For your information, if anybody does try to figure out where I am, they're going to see me in Costa Rica. But
Haven't you listened to anything that we've said so far? You're part of this
Yes.
group. You have a bunch of information about our personal lives and who we are. And so your mind right now is a treasure trove of threat to us. Your father is part of a bunch of beings that apparently can manipulate minds. And while we're trying to figure this out, you just go and reel off a text? I mean, you've already withheld the fact that he was one of the blank bodies and just told us now when we're deep into this. and then you go and pull this. I can't trust you. Your judgment is terrible. What are you doing?
All right.
Oh, I lean down and I start texting him back.
Okay.
Oh.
What do you
As
text?
far as I know.
As far as I know, that's your answer.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you still want to go shooting tomorrow night?
Dude, the fact that she followed up with that just immediately throws me for a loop. Yes, please. And then I'll just say, we probably have some stuff we may need to talk about.
But I do need to know before tomorrow.
Okay. You guys can talk for another second while Jack tries to think about if he condones what Ortiz did.
Well then,
I mean, you don't even know what they're necessarily talking about. Who knows what Ortiz did?
Where are we standing, by the way? Like, where's our location right now? I forgot. What's our settings?
Where are you? Are you
at my place?
Yeah,
my
I think
safe house.
Jordan's creepy house.
We're
Okay. So is there like a corner of the room where Jorge can go sit down and just think by himself, still within earshot?
I'm sure you could just grab a chair and pull it.
Yeah, it should be plenty of room. It's one of those. It's one of those like a little too big for the place that it's set in. At one time, this was a moneyed house, but it went into disrepair, got haunted, got unhaunted, and yeah. So there's plenty of room.
All right, Jorge's gonna do that. He's gonna sit he has shut down now. He's sitting in the corner within earshot, so he can hear what's going on, but he's no longer talking to anybody. Just thinking to himself. Maybe even muttering to himself.
That sounds like what I would do.
Jack's gonna send back a message in response to what she asked on, needing to know where I stand on the Ortiz thing, and I'm gonna send back. I'm not sure what you're talking about specifically, but generally. And then he's going to send that, and then there's going to be a pause, and then he's going to follow up with another message. I don't condone anything that has been happening for the last 20 years. And let her interpret that as she may. Jack's trying to send messages that can communicate what he wants to communicate to her, but also have plausible deniability for anyone who looks at those messages.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's
doesn't
what you've
condone
been doing for the
anything
last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as I see that, I'll turn it around and I'll show Jordan and Jasper.
Jasper's drone.
Okay. So things are moving in a direction now. Do you have a plan of any kind?
What does he say? Jorge says from the corner. What does it say?
It says he doesn't condone anything that's happened over the last 20 years.
All right. Jorge just goes quiet again.
I had already agreed to go shooting with him at the range tomorrow night.
Okay, so what kind of range are we talking about? Are we talking about an indoor range? Are we talking about an outdoor range? What kind of range are we talking about here?
An indoor range.
Okay.
I don't know anything about ranges in El Paso.
I don't really either.
Yeah, I think it's an indoor range.
I know
well,
one
he's an
outdoor
ex-cop.
range, but I know there are way more than that. I only know that one's a mile away
I
from
would imagine indoor ranges would just be more common because of the heat, but yeah, I'm not from there, so.
Well, not to mention, if he is a cop, he's like knows all the
he would
indoor
also
ranges.
know where the indoor ranges are. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep. Because I mean, the range I know isn't really for pistols. Because outdoor range, it's more for rifle shooting.
Jack is going to send another message where he's going to say, until I see you, please stay safe and keep your head down.
Already doing it.
I'm already doing that, she says.
Okay. Well,
Then
if this part's gonna
I'll send him
happen-
one more message, and I said, "Where does my phone say I am?"
Her
Say
phone
that
says
message
she's-
again.
Where does my phone say that I am?
Oh, pull up, find my iPhone. Where does
says that
it
she's
say
in,
your phone
what,
is?
Costa Rica?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Yeah.
What
Yeah.
the heck? I just
Fuck.
send back.
She fucked with it.
Well,
And then I don't even wait for him to respond. I said, "See you at the range tomorrow."
okay. I think Jack is probably just going to send a message of, is that one of these VPNs I've seen commercials about?
I'll tell you
Where are
tomorrow.
you?
man.
Okay.
Okay, you guys can finish your conversation and decide what you're going to do tomorrow, and then we'll do that scene so that if Jack wants, he can go away. Or he can stay.
All right.
Whatever he wants. But we go
So
ahead.
with
Set it
that
up so that we can do that.
happening, so with that happening, I think, if it's a gun range, I can, I could be there and just, pop off some shots that, and while in reality cover you, but you do realize that this can go tits up real fucking quick, right? I know he's your dad, but him being what he is, that we know he is, although a shooting range is unlikely for anything big, it's, better to be prepared, I guess.
Also, an indoor range
He's-
will be kind of difficult for Jasper's drone to be hovering about.
Yeah.
At least incognito.
It's
Be like,
got
oh, and this
closed
is my friend
circuit.
Jasper's drone. He's here to watch us.
No, he's got it's got closed circuit television, so he should be able to patch in.
Okay.
I mean, I could probably also wire myself too.
Oh, like with a GoPro.
But are you cool with me being there? Or you want to take this on your own? And I mean,
I would appreciate somebody being there just because a
all
lot of
right.
this had me shaking for a while. I mean, I'm pretty sure he sees himself as much of a victim as like any of Ortiz's victims. Just by that response alone.
Well, there is a response. Yeah, you're out of character. There is a response to that, but it's exceptionally dark, so I'm going to skip it.
Okay.
All right. Well, I guess that we're doing this.
Alright, you guys ready to skip forward to it? Or do you want to make a plan or what? Or is that all the planning you want to do? Tell me when
I
you're
think
ready.
Jack's leaving.
I think
Yeah,
at some point,
He thought, or maybe not.
I think at some point, Jorge's gonna come out of the corner, kind of looking like he's calmed down and thought things through. He's gonna take one of these like measured, like a deep breath, and then he's gonna speak. He's gonna say, "Look, thinking this through. I'm thinking this on the fly. Thinking this through on the fly now. This whole situation not only changes things from the dynamics of whether we conduct this operation, but what's done is done, and there is opportunity to be had here as I'm thinking this through. If you had told me we were going to hunt down this man in gray and then somehow take him alive, tie him up, and interrogate him, I would be very interested in that. Because right now, we don't know what these things are. We just know that they kill people. We've been learning slowly that they're intelligent monsters. They're not just monsters like the way that a rabid dog would attack people. They seem to have intelligence, and they seem to be selectively killing, which would make me want to find out what it is that's driving them. What do they want? This whole conversation now is opening my eyes to realize that maybe they all don't have the same agenda, and maybe they're free thinkers the same way humans are. Maybe the murderers are a bad faction of them and we don't understand what it is we're dealing with. And maybe there is evil, but it's not all of them. And if that's the case, then we do need to find that out, because then just murdering somebody because we're passing judgment and we have no idea what was behind it, that becomes a little more difficult. So unfortunately, we're stuck in this position now where this person knows, her father knows now that she is onto him.
Aware.
What's that?
Aware. Not necessarily that she knows, but that she's aware of something.
Right. Well, I mean, she asked him a direct question and said that she knows about the guy Ortiz. So this isn't like barely aware, like, hey, I suspect something bad. This is now she's onto him.
Yeah.
How much he knows, all of that definitely blows back on us. That affects us. I'm trying to think of, is there a way we can get this information? Specifically, are they all evil? What do they want? What is motivating them? So that we can decide which one of them to fight, that, like, all of that, but without also exposing ourselves. Because if it turns out that they are all minded, like evil-minded, they all have this purpose, they're all a danger. Once they find out that we're involved with her, we all have targets on our heads, and there's no going back from that.
Jorge, do you know my last name?
No.
Have you seen my house?
Yes.
You've seen this. This isn't my house.
Okay.
This is not where I live. I've got a whole life outside of this that I may have alluded to a little bit here and there. But just because you know that I am a player does not mean that they know everything.
Okay. Well, you know who I am. That works for you real nice, but I'm in danger, and so is my entire church.
I got a question. When Sarah showed them the text, did it say Jack Levington? Did it have the number on it?
It probably said Dad.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But
that would be a good.
It might have
that'd
had
be-
his phone number on there. It should have had his phone number on there.
Can I
Look up
try
the
and
phone
break
number?
into the cell number? Oh, okay. Well, that too.
Yeah, what are you looking for?
You should just
I'm gonna try and get in his phone and just look at try to look through the contacts and see if there's any the text messages in the contacts.
Make your global access roll.
Is he gonna hack into my phone?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
What the heck?
Hey,
No,
guys.
vamping pics on there?
No, wait a minute. I have a Fourth Amendment right.
It didn't matter when you had balls deep doing that on the other people.
No, it's different. So different.
Oh yeah.
All right, continue.
So we have to count the successes ourselves because.
Oh wait.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have 6
Yeah,
successes. That is plenty. You have access to his phone.
Okay, well the first, can I just try and download? Is it possible to download the text conversations?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You download all the text conversations from his phone.
Do you tell us that this is what you're doing?
No, he's not even in the same room as you. His thing is.
That's
just
what I'm
hovering there.
saying.
Oh wait, it's.
That's what I'm saying. Yo, do we?
Well,
Because if-
knowing what I know about Jasper, he's the type of person to just see if it bears fruit before bringing it up.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
was gonna say he would have Ortiz's number, and we could
Yep.
track Ortiz.
Yeah, he has Ortiz's number. He's got Emily's number. He's got James Clark's number. He's got a bunch
Oh
of
wow!
other
I hit the
numbers.
gold mine.
I
got a bunch
know.
of-
I'm like, wait, stop.
He's got a bunch of other numbers in there that, aren't really relevant to the current story. But no, he
And
probably
this is
has
why
yeah.
James said
50
no
contacts
phones.
or so in there. Yeah.
That was during the war. It's over.
No, this is why James said no internet.
Yeah.
James is, oh yeah, that's right. He used a phone, right? The last time we saw
You guys are only supposed to be using a phone for the purpose of managing your disguise, which in Jack's case is for his family. But as sheriff, he has he's got connections to other things so that he can get things done. But he has to be very cautious with what he says. So everything, all the texts in there are, they sound like normal conversation. Everything's written in code.
right.
Yeah,
Alright.
you'd have to understand like the inside meaning for any of those messages to actually get information.
Yep, but you do get a
Um,
bunch of phone numbers now.
Mhm.
Well, that
Which
is
is
like
concerning.
what Jasper wanted to do too is actually start looking into the phone numbers and doing like just seeing where they lead and see if
Yeah, and then comparing
now when
the
he's
phone
looking-
numbers, looking up the person it belongs to. Yeah, you got
Yeah,
a big ass
like,
list
seeing
of
the-
potential vampires.
yeah.
Yep.
I guess
Then
I'll start.
true.
Doing,
List of targets.
I guess I'll start doing that while they're talking because I'm assuming that's going to take a while. But yeah, that's what he's looking for is phone numbers that they don't have. Like the less social media that sticks out, the more it's going to stick out. If that makes sense.
Yep.
I don't know if
Jack
you want me to do a
probably
roll
only
before.
has
Kind of went
numbers
to
of-
0 to 100
of-
real quick.
Of like the people he contacts the most, and then also there will be some people from the police department, some people from different city departments, from the jail, and then different contacts that he has. There's probably a phone number on there for what was his name? Simon Cortez, is that what his name was? The mage guy?
Yes. The weed dude?
Yeah. Yeah, the weed detective. His name
Yeah,
is
I think it's
probably
Simon
in there.
Cortez.
And there might
Oh, he's
not be
gonna
a
also wanna-
conversation attached to it, but I think his name is probably in there.
He's gonna probably because Sarah did say that the dad always tells the wife to like before the riots, if I'm correct, he told the mom to get everybody down into the basement. So he's gonna probably pay attention to the wife's text messages in too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he has a
Hey,
lot
now
of
wait a minute. Those are private conversations. You should not
There's a
read
lot
my
of,
wife's messages to me.
there's a lot of sexting in there.
Oh, that he's definitely going to show Sarah later.
No! You monster! I'll kill you! I'll kill you, you son of
My
a bitch!
mom and my dad flirting on the phone. Yes, it's cute. It's good to know that the relationship is good, but no.
What does rouse the head mean?
What?
What is he talking about when he says, I'm going to rouse the head?
Stop!
God.
Okay, so back to you guys' conversation, or are you finished with it?
Yeah, go ahead and have them talk, because like I assume the research is going to take a while.
Well, I think we kind of like got to the end of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so in short,
Yeah.
I think this is now, we have to look at it as what's done is done, and we need to use this as an opportunity to find out who we're dealing with, what they want. Do they have different goals like humans do? Is there a good faction and a bad faction? You know, that'll change how we hunt, who we hunt, why we hunt. Because up until now, we were assuming they were all monsters. And we need to know specifically about the man in gray. So at this point, I guess this is the plan. Find out, because this is the next best thing to having a prisoner that we can interrogate. This is somebody that seems willing to talk to you. Since Jordan, since you seem unafraid about, I mean, what do you intend to go with her? Like actually accompany her in front and talk to her father with her, or just be in the vicinity?
Oh no! Oh no! I'm there as backup, because me showing up most definitely will scare him off. So I would just happen to be
I can't
there.
hear him. He's muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can hear him. So
Yeah,
can hear him.
too.
did you mute him?
Okay.
No, I didn't mute anybody.
Okay.
Let's see. Seriously,
So-
guys,
I mute him all the
pop off
time.
and-
That's why I was
pop off
asking.
and pop back on real quick,
Okay.
because all of us hear him. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's you.
Well, he did say the Bluetooth was having the problems.
It shouldn't be hearing only selective ones of us.
Can you guys hear? You guys
I
hear
hear
me
you.
now?
Let's
Can
see,
you hear
let's see
me?
if you can hear him.
Yep.
All right. Cool. If I show up with her, saying like, "Hey, Dad, here's my buddy," he's gonna run. But if I'm just another guy at the range, he's not gonna pay attention to me.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering what you were trying to do. I am
Now,
not.
that being said, if we could if she could have like a help me button or something that she could press if things get, immediately weird and not overt, that I can't overtly see, then that might be useful. Chance to make a roll, and he says.
She could just scream, "Help, Jordan, help!"
Well, I can actually jerry rig a Bluetooth to hide behind my behind my earplugs. So that way, if you guys have questions, you can ask me to ask them, and also we could just like have a code word to say time to bail.
I think we're going to have to prep you with a list of questions too
Alright.
that we want to make sure you ask. I mean, you're
Okay.
basically. I mean, the downside is that you have to be the spokesperson for all of us. So I mean, we're not going to get this chance to just all question him. But I mean, you got to just keep in mind our main objectives here. We want to figure out, are they all evil? Do they all have different goals? Or do they have different goals? Like, are there factions? And then specifically this man in gray that we've been targeting. What's his deal? But it seems like he murdered Knuckle Duster's mom and turned Knuckle Duster. So
And that's just one person.
Well,
It's just if there is
if we're
reports
going
of these
by that
guys all over
idea,
town.
Okay, well, if we're going by that idea, then we should probably, come up with the philosophical line that they shouldn't cross because, as the old adage goes, what is normal for a spider is chaos to the fly.
Right.
I mean,
So,
does that
what
work here,
line
though?
are they allowed to cross? What?
Because, like, does that work here, though? Because spiders are helpful to the environment. We don't even know if, like, you know what I mean? Like, would that even apply here?
Oh, well, that's a great
But
point because this is my
Humanity's
deeper
carbon
thing.
footprint's pretty freaking big.
I mean,
that's
it's a
true.
great point because like this calls into question the fundamentals of our group to begin with. We got together under this, understanding that we were all going to fight this fight of good versus evil, us being good and these evil monsters that are out to get society. And we assumed that these Ventru are like they're evil. And as it's turning out, that may not be the case. And then I want to know what other kind of monsters are out there. Because I mean, are they the ones responsible for these doors that appear out of nowhere? I mean, can you ask about that as well? I'd like to know, there's a door that came up and swallowed up.
You should
Ozzy,
sick
I wanna
these
know-
dumbass hunters on those changelings.
I don't know what's out there.
Jorge, I know this is important to you, but asking that kind of question is not going to help because whenever you if you were to try to talk to an Al-Qaeda terrorist or whatever, from their perspective, what they're doing, no matter how heinous, it's justified. I'm not saying that there's a direct comparison here, but what I'm saying is we cannot use what they see as normal and moral and just as our point of reference. We've got to hold true to what we see as moral and just.
Right. Well, I'm saying is they're not going to call. I'm not saying to go and ask, are you evil or are you good? I'm saying find out what their motivations are and do they all share those same motivations so that we can make the determination, are they all something that we need to wipe out, or are there different versions of them and some of them need to get wiped out? Or the least likely is that none of them are a threat and we need to work in tandem with them to attack other things that exist. These are the things that we need to, we don't even know what we're dealing with. We don't know if there are other kind of monsters out there. We need to know that too.
Just from what
I can
my
tell
dad told me.
you, there are other things out there.
I mean, just from what my dad told me, that he's not happy with how the last 20 years of his life has gone, which means where he is probably still very much a good guy, not everybody in his court is, so to speak.
We could cut the scene there unless there's anything you guys think you need to say, because Jack wants us to move on so that he can
I think
go to bed.
I think we should move forward.
Yeah, it's either that or we either need to let Jack
Yeah,
go to
because
bed
we could just have this
or
conversation forever. So
Yeah.
I think the thing that that you need to ask too is what happened on the night of the riots, because apparently he
That's
knew
a
it was
good one.
coming. So I would like to know what exactly the story is with the night of the riots.
Yeah, bottom line is you need to basically just know that what you're trying to determine is how we need to approach these things. Are there some good ones? Are there some bad ones? And you need to find out whether there's other kinds of monsters out there that he knows about.
Yeah. Okay. So do we go ahead and just fast forward to tomorrow night at the
Yep, it
shooting
is
range?
tomorrow night. I don't have a gun range scene. We're just going to stay on the opening page, on the title page.
Okay.
Okay. So I assume Jordan's already been here for a few minutes before you have your meeting with your father, so that he doesn't look like he's
Yeah.
in with you.
And I already set up my my ear protection to be you know,
So
as far
so
as
these guys can
Bluetooth
hear you.
goes, so that I can
Yeah.
hear Jasper and he can hear me.
Okay. Do you have an earpiece
So,
in
yeah,
where Jasper and Jorge can talk to you to feed you questions?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
and Jordan has the same
And Jordan has them too. Okay.
Bluetooth. Yeah.
Yep. You guys are all set up like a spy movie. It's not very hard to do that.
Yeah.
Totally, man.
I've got one of those flare guns, you know, in my pocket.
Okay.
And I'm plinking at targets. Just waiting.
For the rest
You
of
say a
us, while
flare
this is
gun
happening,
or a
I
flare?
don't know where you guys want to be. Well, I mean,
A
is
flare
Priscilla,
gun.
Like, is Priscilla
in an
just
indoor
gone
shooting
completely?
range.
yeah, I think Priscilla's just gone completely. You haven't heard from her in days.
You realize she
Who
didn't want to
knows?
die.
Maybe a vampire ate her.
I have a
That's
feeling
the
that they'll
question we
probably
may
turn
wanna
it
ask.
into a story later.
So,
Or she got kidnapped by the
where-
Fae.
yeah, where's Jasper? Well, I know where Jasper is. Where's Jasper's drone during this situation?
He's gonna be, you know, just doing security outside. Well, just looking
Doing
around outside to
Overwatch.
see if there's. Yeah, there you go.
Keeping watch outside in case Jack comes with other flank bodies. Okay. And where is Jorge? Are you at Jordan's house? Are you at your own house? Are you outside in a car?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm gonna
Are you
sit
at a
outside.
bar getting drunk?
I'm gonna sit outside in a charger, a black charger. Let me see if I could get the let me see if I could get the armored and untraceable.
Yeah. Armored, untraceable. Go for it.
What do I have to? Which ones? I'm sorry, I'm trying to look up
I don't know.
what I have to roll.
I think isn't it manipulation and subterfuge or persuasion?
I'm almost there. I think, or am I going the wrong way? I'm going the wrong way.
I think it's one of those. It's like manipulation is
Wait.
one of them. I think.
Let's see. Do you have to change anything for the roll, or vehicle providing
No.
armor to withstand small arms fire, being effectively immune to anything short of a mine or a rocket-propelled grenade? Yeah,
Yeah, it's manipulation and persuasion. You're right.
Adding 2 dice to the defense pools against ranged weapons. Yeah, it is a manipulation. Wait. Hunters who keep and maintain their own. No.
Okay.
Those who rely on contacts. Manipulation.
And so I say
persuasion.
it before we get.
I got a
And
3.
so I say it before we get started. I do have my hammer in my shooter bag.
Okay. You need 4. So you can re-roll your 3 failures.
It cost me a willpower.
Yeah, it costs you a willpower.
Do I get the how often do we get those back?
I don't know. Does this game work the same as Vampire? I don't even care. You get it back the same as Vampire. So you get back
We
your-
get like a lot per per
Yeah, you
session.
get back the
I think it's like
the largest.
It's like a good
of
night's sleep or
between
something.
your, between
Composure or, well, resolve.
Composure or resolve. Assuming it's the same as Vampire. If it isn't, we're gonna do it that way because that's what's in my head. Anyway.
Okay. All right. I'll spend a willpower.
Anyway, you have a couple to spend every night, or every session. So.
Okay. I'll spend it. So I got. Oh shoot! I'm sorry.
you
I
just
clicked
wanna
the wrong
roll 3
button.
dice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
now you got 6.
I got it.
Yep.
All right. So I'm sitting outside in a charger.
Armored charger with untraceable tags.
Yep. They took their own cars, right? Like Jordan took his own car, and
Probably.
Sarah took her own car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so Sarah and Jack can tell their story. Go.
All right, so we're walking into the range, I suppose, and I'm keeping it nonchalant in terms of conversation until we're actually into the range, unless Sarah presses me immediately.
What? No hug?
Oh no, I'll give her a hug and stuff. Like, that's the first thing he does, is he gives her a hug. Like, just says, I'm glad you're
not
safe.
dead.
And just say, these are dangerous times right now, especially after last week. And then, we'll go into get our stuff, go into the range. And I'm going to look to see if the farthest corner shoot box is open, or if it's occupied right now. Trying to be basically in the farthest corner away from everybody else.
Let's give you like 50%. If I roll a 6 or higher, then it is full.
Yay.
Go.
There's usually not that many in these things. Usually there's like about 10, maybe about 12 compartments. So being far away is not necessarily that far away.
Yeah, it's just better than being in the middle. But yeah, so
I imagine Jordan's somewhere in the middle so that he could,
Oh yeah, I would be smack dab in the middle, the closest I could be to anything.
You want to give a description of Jordan?
Jordan has a open flannel shirt with a graphic tee that says "Love is love," and he's wearing a pair of jeans and work boots.
What weapon is he using?
Everything else is in it with. He's got a. I'd say he's got his. Oh darn it! His Webley, which is a, Sherlock Holmes era pistol, revolver.
Okay, so you're using like a antique.
Yeah, well, actually, it would probably be a reproduction, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Also, how make a firearms roll. So, just make a dex and firearms roll, and that'll be as Jack walks by and takes his fleeting glance. He notices the level of skill that you're shooting with.
Alright, where's my... Okay.
You can use wits if it's higher than dex. I don't care. Especially with a non-moving target, you can use dex. Plus, once we switch to 20th anniversary edition, it's always...
There we go.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. 3 successes. So just to give you a rough estimate of how well he's doing, he got 3 successes on his shooting.
Okay, that's a nice dice pool.
Yeah, he's getting some targets, but he's definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And relaxed, just.
Yeah, Jack's just doing a quick assessment of just whoever else is on the range. Goes to the farthest corner.
And maybe like one other guy.
Yeah. And then once we get to that far corner and start setting stuff up, Jack's gonna look at his daughter, and he's gonna say, even though he's gonna say, do you think we're far away from everybody so that we can talk privately? Or should we get farther away? And he gives her this look of like, do you know what I'm saying?
I'm not walking through the wall, Dad. It's been a while since we've done this, so let's at least enjoy this familiarity.
All right. And I'm now going to very quickly look and see, are there any cameras that are directly facing our specific shoot box? Like, are there cameras on us or not?
There is a camera watching you guys. The question is how, because you are in a spot that is the least visible.
Got it. Okay.
Given that there is a camera watching this, this range, you couldn't have found a better spot.
Okay, got it.
And what's more is they probably wouldn't be great cameras either.
Yeah, they're probably not great cameras either.
Yeah. All right. So Jack's he's gonna take out his M1911. He's gonna slap it on the table. He's like, you know the drill. He's gonna start loading his gun. He's gonna do all his checks, and then he's gonna send his target down, and then he's gonna take a shot, and he's gonna expect that she's doing the same in terms of actually like doing some shooting. And then
you guys can make a
yeah.
dex or wits, whichever you want to do, and firearms roll, just for the bragging rights of it. That's a 3.
A 3 for me.
I'm trying to do it in Discord. I think I don't know.
I'll just roll for you. Tell me what dice you think you have.
Probably I think 7 is what I'm used to using. 7 or 8 for my pistol.
Okay. We'll call it 7.
They've got a 4 in wits, and then like a 3 in firearms, and then +1 for the thing.
Oh, that's a lot.
Oh, I could have used wits. Damn
yeah,
it.
you could have used wits.
Oh well.
1,
All right, next
2,
time I'll fight.
3,
That's not gonna flip
4,
my
5,
wits.
6. So yeah. Jack rolls 6, so he is, he's hitting his targets.
Okay. I got that message that you sent me yesterday, and I was not happy to see it, but in some ways took a weight off my shoulders. Have you ever heard of Plato's parable of the cave?
No, I haven't.
It's a shame. I guess they don't teach the classics like they should anymore in college. I think it might be something that you could find some interest in. The parable of the cave is kind of an analogy for how he saw the world in some ways, and specifically how he saw knowledge and the acquisition of truth in the world. In the parable of the cave, every person is chained to the wall of a cave. Their eyes are fixed forward, their heads positioned so that they can't turn their neck left or right, and they are forced to stare at a wall, the wall of a cave, upon which there are shadows cast. Behind them, though they cannot see them, are people who are taking puppets and other things and putting them in front of the light to cast shadows onto the walls. Okay? And the point of it is that the people who are in the cave and can only see forward and see the shadows think the shadows are real life, even though they're just a fragment, just a piece, a distortion of a real thing. And in the parable of the cave, there is a person who is able to unshackle themselves and escape the cave. And then once they are on the surface, they realize what the real world is like, and they see the sun. But their light is not used, or their eyes are not used to the bright light of the sun. It's used to dim torchlight and candles, and they can't take it. And they have to go back into the cave. And when they go back into the cave, and they try to tell the people in the cave that they don't know what the real world is, and that they need to go outside of the cave, the other people in the cave murder them. And then they stay in the cave. Okay?
Okay.
Now,
Are you trying to tell me that I just left the cave?
you know, in life, most people don't get to leave the cave. And personally, I think just like in the parable, those who do leave the cave are not used to or able to receive what they see. Except I personally would probably change the story a bit based on my life experience. If I were to give you Jack's parable of the cave, would you want to hear Jack's parable of the cave?
Sure.
All right. Listen carefully. I'm not going to say it again. But I want you to pay attention to every part of it. Okay?
Okay.
In Jack's parable of the cave, people are, of course, in the cave. They are strapped to the walls, still forced to look at the wall, and they see the shadows cast by the torchlight. But in Jack's parable of the cave, the people who cast those shadows onto the walls used to be the people who were strapped to the walls. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
And every now and then, someone from the puppeteers, we'll call them, the shadow puppeteers, we'll call them the shadow people, will take some of the people on the wall who outnumber them greatly, infinitely outnumber them. And sometimes they will take them and they will introduce them to the rest of the shadow puppeteers and will make them a puppeteer. And also, there are many different groups of puppeteers who use different puppets that cast different shadows with different lights on the cave, all showing different things to the people on the wall. And although the people on the cave don't know it, all they see are muddled shadows. But if they were able to turn around, they would see that the different groups of puppeteers are constantly fighting and killing each other. And that is why sometimes they pull people from the wall. Because they need to always have new puppeteers. And those who decline to become a puppeteer, just like the people in Plato's parable of the cave, who try to come back in after they've seen the sun, get murdered. And everybody that they're connected to on the wall gets murdered. And none of them survive. And anybody who tells the people on the wall that the shadows are not reality die. And those that they tell die. Jack composes himself. But that's just a story. It's just another parable. It's just a little thought exercise.
Mm-hmm. That played itself out last week.
Well, what played out last week the riot, that was a lot more than just hypothetical puppets. But if you wanted to compare it to the parable, then maybe you could say that last week the puppeteers were fighting. Maybe.
And then afterwards, these reports of Knuckle Duster talking about the Men in Black.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's really specific. Why would you? I'm sorry, I just don't understand. Is this from a video game? And he gives you a look of like.
No, there was a influencer who, after the quote-unquote riots happened, he decided to, follow up on reports of the quote Men in Black. That was led by a man in gray, who you and I both know.
Oh.
That either people suddenly had their opinions changed or disappeared completely.
Sometimes the people who are the puppeteers desperately want to tell the people on the cave wall that what they're seeing are shadows, and they want to bring them out. Some of those puppeteers dream of overthrowing the other puppeteers, releasing everyone on the cave walls, and entering into the sun together. Even if it means the puppeteers have to stay in the cave alone by themselves and die. But there's a hierarchy among the puppeteers in the parable of the cave. And the ones who are pulled in don't exactly have a say in what happens and have to work their way up before they could even consider.
How many of them went out?
My computer turned off. I forgot I needed to plug it in.
Oh, okay.
It's okay. I can continue. Where was I?
You told us about the puppeteers who wanted out.
Yeah.
And so Sarah,
I wished that you could lead the people that were chained out
into the sun. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and can you guys hear me while I'm on the phone now? So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Does what I'm saying make sense?
Let me ask you this though. If the puppeteers had to die, how many would of them should die?
I don't think any of the puppeteers could answer that question. They only know a few. See, the thing about the cave is that the cave is very, very long. The cave is the entire world. Everybody who has ever been starts on the wall of the cave. And consequently, the line of puppeteers that follow behind on the other side of the cave, that line of people goes on along the entire duration. There are shadows cast on the walls all the way down. There are so many puppeteers. Infinitely less than those who are chained to the walls, but the puppeteers are everywhere. The puppeteers are numerous. And because the cave only runs linearly, each puppeteer only knows a few dozen to their left and right, never able to see the big picture, except for a few who can go even further back who we could say
Did I lose everybody?
Tears
Is somebody
or-
talking?
Yeah,
Jack
no,
is
we're-
talking.
Jack.
Damn it. Jack is talking? Wait, Jack is
Jack's
talking?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jack is
Can you
talking.
hear me?
I'm lost.
You're gonna have
Come
to
on,
go back
Megan.
out.
Yeah, maybe have him disconnect and reconnect again.
No, you're good. We can all hear you,
You're
so
good.
it must just be him.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me now? Serious? Cool.
Okay, good.
But to answer your question, sweetie, I would say in the parable of the cave, there's a lot of puppeteers who don't like what they do and wish that they could either go back on the wall and never have realized that what they were seeing were shadows. And I think there are a lot who begin to relish the fact that they cast the shadows and would never go back. And it's a complicated question, but what I'll say is that everybody who is a puppeteer was at one point a person on the wall, no different than any of the others, and that part of them never goes. But there are some people who have cast shadows for so long that they have completely forgotten that there ever was a source of light outside of the cave, and they believe that the shadows they cast are the reality that they create, and they relish it, and they relish their power over those chained to the walls, and they will never, ever become anything other than what they are. They will never change. There are some who can. There are some who want to desperately. But the thing is, the puppeteers are chained too. So, I would say that's Parable of the Cave. I think you would find it really interesting. And obviously my version is kind of different. But I hope it kind of conveys what I'm trying to say. And let me hammer home again that if a puppeteer tries to tell people on the wall that the shadows are shadows and that it's not reality, the puppeteer dies, and all of the people who hear or ever loved them die. So, it's a pretty dark parable. Good thing it's not reality, though.
Mm-hmm. Are there other entities besides puppeteers?
Oh, sometimes the puppeteers hear the echoes of something far deeper in the cave that goes back, far behind them, deeper and darker down in the ground where the sun has never shone. Some of the puppeteers explore those caves. Some of them don't come back. Some of them come back changed. The sad thing is that in the Parable of the Cave, even those who are the puppeteers don't know the true story. They don't know everything that's happening. They can't go out into the light of the sun, and they prevent everyone else from going out into the light. And sometimes there are things deep in the caves that even the puppeteers don't understand or know about. But they have an impact. But I would say that the puppeteers, generally, most of them, have no understanding of why they're even doing it, how it all started. They don't know. They've made up stories about how it started. There's ideas. They have their own belief systems and arguments about how it all started. They don't know for sure. Oh, and of course, there's also, beyond the factions of puppeteers, there's also other people who don't even cast shadows. There's other people who do different things to the people in the cave. Unspeakable, horrible things. It's a very complicated parable in comparison to Plato's. So complicated that I don't think I understand it myself, and it's my parable.
Sarah can hear Jorge on the Bluetooth, right?
Yes.
All right, so Jorge's going to say, ask him if the people on the wall in the cave would be better off if all of the puppeteers were gone.
I think you missed that part of the story.
Did I? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
no.
never mind. I couldn't hear him.
He answered that to basically say he just wish him and all the puppeteers would just go out to the sun he wished all the people would be released to go out into the sun where all the puppeteers would just stay and die.
Yeah.
And Jorge doesn't have
Yeah, he said that the puppeteers, the people who are on the cave's walls, who see the shadows, they can go out to the sun, but those who become puppeteers can never go out into the sun. They are stuck in the cave, even though they have more of the truth. They can never know the full truth of the freedom of exiting the cave.
Did he cover whether escaping into the sun frees the people? Like, can they escape into the sun and be free?
Yeah, but the problem is if they go back, they try to get anybody else.
Well, you didn't ask that specifically. You could ask me that if you wanted to.
So you kind of made it sound like in your parable, if the people could get up and leave, it would be preferable. But someone finding the sun, if they start stealing people out one at a time with the end goal of getting everybody out to the sun to where the puppeteers don't have control anymore. I don't know what I'm asking.
It's okay. I would say that in an ideal world... Sorry, my roommate's dog just let it rip. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Ezra, why would you do that? Oh gosh, it's bad. Hold on. I'm sorry. Oh bad. Oh my gosh, hold on. My apologies. Deep in this
Take a minute.
philosophical thing.
Cave is toxic.
Alright, let's...
What are they feeding your roommate's dog?
Dog food. Alright. Here we go.
There's a poisonous gas in the cave.
Ask the question again.
What the heck was I asking?
It was like, could people go out? Like, could people basically free? Like, would it do them any good to free the people in the cave? Something like that?
Yeah, and just take us all out into the sun.
Yeah. In an ideal world, everyone on the wall would stand up, break their chains, march out into the sun, and collapse the cave in, leaving all the puppeteers down there with everything in those lurking shadows, those dark depths. Or better yet, blow the top off the cave and let the sun pour in, and the puppeteers will have no ability to cast shadow in the face of the blinding true light of the sun. But that's in an ideal world. In the real world, even those who get out of the cave eventually have to go back in and face the puppeteers and die. It's an unfortunate reality of the parable that, as far as at least I can see it, there isn't a way to get rid of all the puppeteers and free all the people in the cave wall. Those who would seek the freedom of those in the cave are far outnumbered by those who would keep them enslaved. And, you know, although the people who are on the cave only see shadows, they, I would say, live a much better life than the puppeteers, which is the sad part of the parable. Although the puppeteers, many of them take joy in their position of power, they're really much more empty and broken. And funny enough, the puppeteers need the people in the cave wall to survive. One could call the puppeteers the parasites, and the people on the cave wall the hosts, you could say. It's a very complicated and messed up parable. But if I were a puppeteer and there was a person in the cave who wanted to go out into the sun, I would be paralyzed, unsure what to say back to them, out of fear that anything that I did would just cause them to die. And maybe I'd hope that they could just go back to looking at the shadows and just let it be. Just know that they're looking at shadows, but enjoy it for what it is. And let the puppeteer behind them protect them as best they can. If I was in this parable. Anything else, honey?
This is where Jorge would say in his area. Is he saying that the puppeteers actually protect the people on the wall?
From other puppeteers and other things in the cave, I think was the intention.
Yeah. So I'm guessing what you're trying to say is, if you were a puppeteer, would you be the only one trying to protect the people from the other puppeteers? Or are there more like that one?
It depends. I'd say just to put a little bit of logic into this parable. Some groups of puppeteers are different from other groups. Some groups of puppeteers try to have a good relationship with the people on their cave wall. They show them shadows that they want to see, shadows that they enjoy, they keep them well fed, and whatever they get from them, they do so sparingly. And then other groups of puppeteers, they don't care what the impact is of the shadows that they show those people, the reality that they give them, and they use them as they may, even if it means that the people on the cave wall live horrible, wretched lives. And then of course there's many different groups of other people in the cave who aren't even puppeteers, but they aren't on the walls either, and the puppeteers themselves don't fully understand those groups of people, but all of them are not alike. It's a big old cave with lots of groups, all of them doing something to people on the walls.
Any of them paint pictures on the walls and try to suck them out?
That's a very interesting mental image. I'm not
it was
sure.
something I was reading a post on a thing, and I thought it was a very strange story.
Well, you know, you ever heard of the chupacabra? I don't mean to pivot. Put some more shots to the target.
That is a hard pivot.
Draw a picture of a chupacabra on the next target as we send it out.
So, what, have you heard of a chupacabra?
Yes, I've heard of the chupacabra.
So, the chupacabra in the traditional telling is this, it's a blood-sucking creature, as you know, and it'll, suck the blood out of goats and kill them. And I would say that if the chupacabra was hypothetically a real creature, you just lets that sit for a second. And hypothetically, that chupacabra was in the parable of the cave. Okay, no, now this is really falling apart. The chupacabra.
The metaphor is getting away.
Yeah, the chupacabra drinks blood. And, some chupacabras drain all the blood and kill the goat. Most chupacabras take a little and subsist off the herd. But they also protect the herd because it's their herd. So that's of course based on a fictional biology of a fictional creature, but I feel like it kind of in a way connects to the parable. Not sure how, but I think it might connect. And you remember when you got big into that, what was it? It wasn't Dungeons and Dragons, it was Revenant, that was what it was called. And me and your mother wanted you to not have anything to do with that.
Yeah, you guys are really touchy about that.
Yeah. I still don't like that game. I think it is very, I think it probably has a bad influence. And I think mainly it has a bad influence because, it just gets, it can push people in the wrong direction. get them towards things and people that might be dangerous for them. You know? So... anything else that you want to talk to me about?
Jorge would say in the Bluetooth, if a group of people on the wall wanted to free themselves, or wanted to take out the puppet people that were cruel towards their herds, how would they go about identifying and taking them out?
So, if the people on the wall that are just pretending to be looking at the shadows.
Okay, we're going back to the parable. Okay.
Yeah. Let's say, for example, person on the wall, they know what's going on, and they know that there's some that are, there's some puppeteers that are doing fun things, and other puppeteers that are doing cruel things. How would the audience identify the cruel ones?
Wow. They can't. The people on the wall can only face forward. They have no way of identifying whose shadows are whose, who created them, or where they come from, or what the new shadows of the next day will be from the same puppeteer or not. And any of the people on the wall who turn around, who manage to turn around, they wouldn't know where to begin. I think it might be best if the people on the walls who had an inclination that maybe what they were seeing were shadows, and that they were hearing the whispers of puppeteers behind them, I think that maybe the best they can do is just watch the shadows and hope and pray that the puppeteers behind them are benevolent, or at the very least not malicious. To be frank, it's a very nihilistic parable.
Have any people on the wall, to his knowledge, ever overthrown any of their puppeteers?
Do you ask me that?
No, I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
Well,
You can't.
how to ask that in your story, has any of the audience overthrown the puppeteers because they didn't like what they were seeing? Couldn't take it anymore?
A long time ago, excuse me, one could say that in the parable, possibly, we'll say that the cave has been around for several thousand years, with people living in the cave, and we could say that hypothetically several hundred years ago in the cave, a large group of people together realized that there was shadows on the walls, and they rose up and broke their chains in unison, and realizing the situation, turned around and very quickly outnumbered the puppeteers and killed many of them. But unfortunately, the cave system is vast. They can only go so far. And many of the puppeteers went hiding deeper in the caves. And those who broke free eventually died. They weren't able to escape the caves and get into the light. They weren't able to destroy the cave. And everyone of that generation who remembers that they even were in a cave, that the shadows were fake, died. And slowly but surely, the people in the cave, the puppeteers, crawled back out. For that little area, mind you, it wasn't for the entire cave, just for a small area of the cave. And put the people back on the wall. And everything went back to as it is. And you know what? I would say in the parable that there's another uprising of people that's happening right now. But the thing is that the people in the cave, the group that knows, are keeping it a secret from the other people on the walls. So there are some people on the wall who know that they're on a wall staring at shadows and have actually slipped their cuffs. And occasionally, in groups, will slip out, go back to the back of the cave, and will kill some of the puppeteers. And some of them get killed and they have battles, but then they slip back in with the rest of the people, put their shackles back on. It's kind of a complicated situation. One could say that the cave is in a constant state of warfare. Different groups of puppeteers with each other, people on the wall against the puppeteers, puppeteers against other things and people elsewhere in the cave. So,
here's a hypothetical question for you. Let's say, for example, you got these people on the wall, and they're hiding in the wall and keeping it a secret. When they notice one person's trying to find out the truth, they try to come take them and everything they know.
And
let's just say they call themselves the Friendly Businessmen of the Interior, or FBI for short.
Oh. Okay.
That's not a pretty image that I want to keep thinking about. They would fit into that scenario.
I think the friendly Bureau of the Interior, I think that does fit into the parable. I think there might be some people in the cave who use that acronym, who are aware that the cave is a cave and are trying to tear it down. But they have to do so while keeping it a secret that they know that they're in the cave. It's a complicated situation, I would say. But
Should I trust them?
in this hypothetical parable, there's a puppeteer who wishes that he could set all the people free, but he can't. And he knows about these people, this group of people on the wall who are trying to set them free. And in another life, that person wishes that he could have been one of them, that instead of being pulled off the wall and made a puppeteer, they would have passed him over and that he could have joined those people in fighting against the puppeteers. And that his life would be happier for it. But it's not how it worked out. And I would say that this puppeteer is not sure of whether or not they could ever try to work with those people, and wishes that they could. but is afraid of everything that could go wrong, of which there is a lot. You know, and that puppeteer might have some people that are close to him. And let's say, hypothetically, that someone on the wall was whispering to that puppeteer, and that puppeteer whispered back. Maybe they were telling a story to each other. The puppeteer wishes that they could tell everything to the person on the wall without having to worry about the things that would happen to both of them. But the puppeteer can't. The only way the puppeteer could tell them everything is if they pulled them off the wall and made them a puppeteer. That is the only way that they could ever truly explain it all. And I don't know if the person on the wall whispering to the puppeteer would want that. I don't think the puppeteer would want that.
No.
Okay.
Could you ask him if the man in gray is a puppeteer, is a one of these puppeteers that looks out for the herds, or a puppeteer that would be better off gone?
So, if there was a puppeteer that wore gray,
If there was a puppeteer that wore gray, Jack takes like a long moment. He just takes a second. He loads his handgun and just unloads into the target. Seems to be taking out some anger against it. Then puts the pistol back down. If the puppeteer, if there was one in gray, hypothetically, I'd like to think, well, it's my parable, I can say what it wants. The puppeteer in gray does some things that one might call questionable, but the puppeteer in gray overall is protecting the people on the wall. There are much worse puppeteers out there than the puppeteer in gray. There are much worse puppeteers out there. Much worse. And, you know, to go back to that puppeteer who hypothetically could be whispering to a person on the wall, I would say that puppeteer only justifies what they do with the shadows in the walls, because they fight against those worst puppeteers, desperately fights against them to protect those on their wall. And the puppeteer in gray helps that puppeteer do that. Does that make sense?
yeah.
And you know, I think sometimes the people on the walls might not like what many of the puppeteers are doing, whether they're conscious of what is happening or not. But the thing is that they don't know what they don't know. And just like all the people in the cave live in ignorance, they also live in ignorance of how much worse it could be. How much worse their puppeteers could be. Because they can be worse. They can be oh so worse. There are parts of the cave where puppeteers pull people off the walls and beat them and kill them just for the sake of it. Not to make a new puppeteer, just for fun. Just because they enjoy it. And those are the kind of puppeteers that the puppeteer who whispers to the one on the wall fights against every day. Even if it means sometimes they have to pull someone off the wall to keep the fight going.
Again, Jorge whispers into the Bluetooth. Ask him if there was a hypothetical. Basically, well, you put this in hypothetical form. I want to know if you were to be one of these people that was determined to make a difference where you can, and you brought him an example of the thing you were planning to pursue, would he tell you whether it's an evil target worth pursuing and help you in preparing for it?
I think that's a lot of culpability right
That does sound like a bit much.
Yeah, I'm whispering that into her ears. So you just want to do? Oh, okay. You can hear me too.
Yeah, are we all in like
Yeah,
a
you
like a
guys
group?
are all in a.
You guys can all hear what's going on, and I can hear what you guys are asking because it's under ear protection. But
Yeah, it's
She's taking a really long pause.
also
Jack, and you think she might be. She might have some other people in her ear.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm just gonna give her a look. I'm just looking at her, like waiting.
Did Jack notice
let
the
me ask you
earpieces?
this.
No.
She's got headphones.
Well,
she's got her.
I get ear protection on.
Yeah, over
Oh, okay.
top.
Oh,
Yeah,
got
if it's
hair.
over the head, like over the ear, then I'm not gonna see it.
Yeah,
It's
but
actually
the
pretty
pause
clever
she's
when you
taking
think about
makes
it.
you think she's listening to some other people.
Yeah, that's.
Could she make a roll, Sestonn? Because like that could just be her pondering what the next question she's gonna ask is.
I gave plenty of
Yeah.
time for that. No, there's a
You could
conversation
roll that off
going
as a,
on in
you
her
know-
head. If you want, make a manipulation and stealth check, Sarah.
Ooh, that's different.
Manipulation and stealth. I have 2
Yeah.
in manipulation and 0 in stealth.
You don't need to roll.
Anybody want to
'Cause
figure
it's
how
gonna
that's
be
going
for
to happen?
him, wits and insight.
Oh yeah, wits and insight is like my highest combo.
So
Yeah.
no, you don't need to roll that.
Yeah.
Don't bother.
That's fine. So, do you ask me that question about like the whole thing? I'm feeding information and stuff, and like cave speak.
Yeah, so basically if I were somebody on the wall and I notice something off in the shadows, and I see that maybe the person isn't wearing gray, maybe he's wearing green or blue, would her puppeteer be able to at least let her know if he was better or
I
worse?
thought you were
than the
leading the
puppeteer
way,
wearing
or
gray?
maybe he's wearing a black rose.
A black? No. Not his boss. I'm not going to ask him about his boss.
Okay.
Oh, please do.
Okay, fine. Or a black
Well,
rose.
no. I don't mean that like seriously. Like it just would be funny.
No, but seriously.
Honey, before I answer this, let's say hypothetically that puppeteer who whispers to the person in the cave didn't realize it, but there were several other people on that cave wall who heard him whispering to the person on the wall. Do you think that sounds plausible?
The people next to her heard.
Oh, the people next to her heard. So the people next to her are hearing this. Okay. Well, I'd say that the puppeteer who whispers to the person on the cave wall whispers a little louder for the people next to him, listening in. and they whisper. Jack is grimacing, like he's actually, like if you're looking at him, he's like, he looks like he's in pain. The puppeteer would be willing to possibly receive whispers from the one that he whispers to from the other people next to her. And that puppeteer could possibly give information back to them about the other puppeteers if they needed to know whether or not they were one who guarded those on the walls or abused those on the walls. But the puppeteer would much prefer to not risk everyone on the wall that he whispers to dying. Does that sound like a good enough explanation?
What if the people on the wall wanted to know about non-puppeteers?
Hold on, Dad. My
I
music clock is
let
getting
that
too
slide.
loud.
I think we got about as much information as we need.
I silenced my
Because
Bluetooth and just I can't hear anybody at this moment.
Okay. And what do you say? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so what you silence your earpiece, and what you say to Jack?
I've always been worried about you, Dad.
I've always been worried about you, honey. Always tried to protect you. And I've done my best to protect you with the help of your mom. And he lets that linger for a second. From the dangers in this world. And I'm still trying to protect you from the dangers of this world as best as I can. And it's hard. And although I wish that things had gone differently, I am so proud of who you are becoming, and I wish that I lived in a different world where I could fully embrace the kind of person you want to be and the kinds of changes that you want to make in the world. But sometimes the world doesn't work like that. Sometimes it's not fair. Sometimes you get a rare skin disease at 20 something that all of a sudden prevents you from going out into the sun. You know? Sometimes you just get a deathly sun allergy. And you can't do what you wanted to do in life. And you can't go about it in the same way.
Yeah, one of these days you're going to have to tell me the story of the puppeteer's wife.
You know, one of these days, maybe I will. But the puppeteers will only die if they go out into the light, or if they are killed in certain ways, I would say, in the parable. Otherwise, the puppeteers will keep on going forever. And the puppeteers don't change. Their faces don't change. Their ages don't change, you could say. Which can cause problems. But at the end of the day, the puppeteers just want to keep. This puppeteer just wants to keep his people on the wall safe. And that puppeteer just hopes and prays. And yes, this puppeteer still prays that you can do your best to keep people on the wall safe. At the end of the day, that's all I care about. That is all I care about.
Him and put my head on his shoulder and just.
He'll just give her a big hug, and you know what he's going to do actually is he's going to like dig her head like against his chest so like she could like feel his heartbeat, and then he's just going to let it sit there and let her like not feel his heartbeat so that she can actually like physically like this is him non-verbally telling her like with
his
no
skin
ambiguity.
Is cold, and you do not feel his heartbeat. There have been times when you felt a heartbeat on him, and when his skin was much warmer than this.
He just starts crying, like full on crying now.
Oh, that's real sad. Oh shoot, wait, am I misremembering? Do vampires cry blood?
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Son of a bitch, I'm gonna cry some blood.
Okay.
I've got stuff ready. I'll wipe my face.
Starting to well up in his eyes.
Would Jordan start to notice that?
Not likely. If you're paying
If
that
you
much attention,
down,
Jack
alright.
noticed you a long time ago.
Oh yeah, if you're paying that much attention, then we've got a problem.
Oh no, that's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
Occasionally glancing in that direction.
Well, that's the thing is how these
he
things
knows
normally
that
work
he
is
bleeds blood. That he cries blood. He's not just going to stand there and sob and no.
Yeah,
He's
but like I'm
immediately wiping it.
Yeah, but there's a moment
Spending
of
willpower to control it.
There's a moment of emotional vulnerability because this is like the first time, besides with Jack's wife, that he's been able to actually be his true self, even though in a coded way, to one of his most close family members. So this is unironically wholesome in a really tragic way.
Yeah.
We can cut the scene there. That's a really
Well,
powerful
there's one
place
more
to
question
cut.
I wanted to bring up to him.
Go ahead then.
So seriously though, Dad, there's two quote-unquote FBI agents that are sitting in jail because somebody may or may not have made it look like they were criminals instead of trying to take me in.
Oh.
And I can't remember their names.
Johnson and I don't remember them. But you tell them. I'm sure.
But yeah, I
Sarah
tell them the
remembers
names.
their names. Yeah.
Do you know of them? You were in law
So-
enforcement.
You do not know.
No. Should I know them?
You don't.
Well, when
you
I-
don't recognize the names.
Should I? No, but that's not what I mean. Like when I'm like, should I know them?
Okay.
Should I try to help them?
I don't know. But they seem to know me, and they seem to track me down as soon as I started trying to figure out irrefutably what was going on.
I see.
But they didn't strike me as one of your people.
No, likely not. You know, because I work privately now, so I'm not affiliated with the federal government. But just gives her a wink. But they well, I would consider it a problem if the FBI was looking into my daughter, and I would do everything that I can to protect her. It would be unfortunate, though, if the only reason they were even looking at her is because of her connection to me. That would be tragic.
Oh, I guess it would be less tragic if they're both sitting in a cell under suspicion of disappearances that some hacker made up.
Hypothetically, yes, that would be less tragic. Hypothetically, I would be impressed by ooh. And there's just this moment of Jack realizing, oh shoot, they have a hacker. And he thinks of all the things that Balls Deep did for them. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, oh shoot. There's just this moment of like, things are so out of Jack's control with this circumstance and situation that he's like, this is so bad. Hypothetically, though, that hacker should probably be careful and should not do anything with my technology. And just gives her this look of like, please.
I just
Mind your
roll
business,
my
girl.
eyes and just kind of check my gun and go like shoot off a couple more shots. It's like, well, I think I'm almost out of ammo, and I don't want to keep I don't want my clip to be empty.
I relate to that. You know what? Let's burn through the rest of this, and then Jack's just gonna like fire off. Basically, he's gonna use all the ammo that he brought, and then
And we can fade out of the scene.
yeah.
Okay, I think we're going to stop there.
Jeez,
It's
man,
already
that was
late.
intense.
But
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens when we do real-time conversations. We don't get a whole lot done other than our real-time conversation.
Yeah,
No, but this
sorry, I
needed
know.
to happen, and I'm really glad it did.
Oh,
Yeah, I
this
hope
this
for-
was another really great episode. Thank you very much, Jack, for coming. I loved the Jack's Parable. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I did not think that was going to go that way. There's like 20 other ways I thought it was going to go, but that was actually pretty impressive.
Yeah, I love that. That was fantastic.
Yeah,
That
well,
might have been the best session I've ever been a part of, I think, in ever, like, role-playing.
aw, I appreciate that. Well, you know, it came to me because I was literally just thinking, I was like, internally, I'm like, how in the world do I talk to her about what's going on? Because, I mean, just, like, full disclosure, in Jack's ideal world, like, all of his family would know about this, and he could just take them away and escape from all of it, right? Like,
Yeah, and even if you were starting to lean that way after what happened to Goldman, you probably changed your mind.
yeah, it's like, with what happened to Goldman, it's just so... I feel like the best scenario for Jack isn't there, what clan is it that can actually feed off animals?
Anyone can. Well, not Ventru. Ventru cannot. But the Gangrel tend to.
Would there be any way as a Ventru that I could learn from the Gangrel to get around it?
No, as a Ventru, you have to feed on certain... in your
Oh
case,
shoot,
criminals.
man! I always have to feed off criminals. All right, cool. Yeah, there's no real way to get around that. So yeah, Jack
Nope.
can't do with pulling over. It's like, oh, I'm gonna take all my family. We're gonna go to a cabin in the woods. And I'm gonna hunt deer the rest of my life.
Ventru cannot do that.
Yeah, so I'm
You can't-
literally
you
screwed.
can't keep down blood that, in your case, is
Yeah.
criminal.
So. Yeah. So it yeah, we got a situation in terms of Jack really can't escape
Mhm.
from his circumstances, and in an ideal world, he would just escape. But yeah, like he has always wanted to be able to talk with his family about it, which is why he embraced his wife. Well, he didn't embrace her, but he ghouled her. Like because he knew that if he didn't, like it would just destroy the relationship because he would just have to hide everything from her, and it would break him off from the rest of his family. So he ghouled his wife, and he's wanted to just hope that their kids could just kind of get through life safely and that he could protect them as best that he can. But of course his daughter digging into this is like the worst nightmare scenario. But yeah, I was thinking like, how can I communicate these things to Jack's daughter
without being a masquerade breach?
Yes, and that's the thing.
Well, it pretty much still was, but hell,
this is still
you're the
100%.
one that enforces that shit right now. So
yeah, this is very much a masquerade breach. I am in a Goldman situation, but the problem, at least what I was able to do is on paper give myself plausible deniability for like anyone who overheard a part of the conversation or recorded it or anything like that. This was still really a masquerade breach. I'm very much in danger from this, and so is like my entire family, and all of you guys, of course. Like you guys are always in danger. You're hunters. Like you're all on the verge of just getting murked. But it's I wanted to come up with a way that I could communicate that without just putting it all out there, because Jack knew that like someone might be recording, someone might be listening. I need to code this in some way. Right. And the parable of the cave, Plato's parable of the cave, just popped into my head because I'm familiar with that. I remember it from like a high school lit class, and it kind of stuck with me. It's kind of like the inspiration for The Matrix, actually, is Plato's parable of the cave.
Yeah,
like,
I was actually waiting for Sarah to counter with, "You mean The Matrix?"
Oh my god, if she says mean The Matrix, he would have been like, no, The Matrix is based off Plato's parable of the cave. This is the OG. But no, like, yeah, like The Matrix, actually. So I was trying to think of a good way of doing that, and then yeah, that popped into my head, because it actually is a good, it's a very interesting, just, philosophical concept of like how Plato viewed the truth in a very pessimistic way. The idea of basically like, if you have the full truth, people won't accept it and they'll kill you. And like people not having the full pictures of how the real world works, only having like a distorted picture of it. And I was like, oh shoot, I can use that. And all I have to do is just take that base analogy and extrapolate and complexify. In this case, it was like ad nauseum, but I hope it was interesting.
Yeah.
Great. I think these last two episodes have completely turned the game on its head, because Hunter at its base is like I think it's already an interesting game in that you don't know what you're dealing with. You got to find out what you're dealing with. You got to find out how to combat it and then try to execute. Right. But now we're going back to, well, what the fuck are we even doing in the first place? Like, we don't even know the whole story, and we're just blindly lashing out at something. And we don't. And now this guy is telling us that the guy that we've been looking at as like evil and potentially, like, not all of them are evil, and even the guy we thought was evil might have actually done what he did to serve the greater good, and we have no idea. We just decided he was evil. We're gonna go kill him. So, like, to me, now our next episode is gonna be. I think it's necessarily more
it's
a
gonna
group
be third
conversation.
time in a row of just real-time conversation.
There were a lot of things. I mean, like the fact that
because
actually, offline, we probably should decide what we want to pursue after this, because I think we're gonna end up stopping at this and then just pick another avenue to go.
Well,
but see, like, honestly, if you guys told me, if you guys told me, like, hey, let's get together for a beer and discuss. Like, if you guys told me, let's get together for a beer and discuss philosophy, right, for a couple of hours, I would find that worth it, right? And so I understand that, like, these are episodes where not much action is happening, but I don't know. This is super interesting to me. So I'd almost like rather not skip these conversations by like trying to summarize them in a Discord when we could have them for real. Exactly. There were a few things Jack said that like would probably result in some really good conversation.
I got a question for Jack.
Yeah.
So
So as far as you can only feed on criminals, right? Does that include like, for example, say you want to take your family, go live out in the woods, can you just have one of them do something illegal and then just feed a little bit off them?
Oh no, it's not like that. It's very much a psychological thing. Obviously, like Jack's physiological body doesn't like detect of like, oh, this is blood of someone who's committed a legal felony in the United States.
Okay.
Like, obviously, my body can't do that. It's much more of the psychological profile of like, and it's like people that Jack intrinsically knows or feels, like in terms of, or I guess you just say believes that are criminals. The people that he like that's the thing, is someone might be a quote unquote criminal because they technically like committed public intoxication because they got drunk, at a bar, and now they're stumbling in the streets. Technically, that's like a misdemeanor offense, but that person wouldn't fit Jack's profile to feed off of, because when he thinks of a criminal, Jack is thinking of someone who is criminally predatory on other people. And so
in the Batman sense.
It needs to be like a victim.
Yeah.
Wait,
exactly.
are you talking about normal like blood preferences? Because I read that those are actually in the blood. That's not just in Jack's head.
This is the Ventru's clan Bane. He
But
specifically has to
blood,
feed on
right?
criminals.
And it's the blood itself that like he can actually detect it in the blood, right? He like others, like we can detect different tastes of like other vampires.
No, that's something different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's not that there's a taste of blood within quote unquote criminals that differentiates
what were those
them.
called? Anyway,
No, it's a blood
the blood humors.
resin.
Humors. Yeah.
Humor,
that was something else. Those still happen, even though he needs to feed off criminals.
Yeah, no, this is more of a physiological block, like a psychological block of like, for whatever reason, there's this Ventru like psychological thing of like, they have to feed on something that fits for whatever it is, something that fits what they are comfortable with feeding on. And if it is outside the scope of that, their psyche kind of works with their body to reject it. So other Ventru, like Jack's Ventru compulsion for his blood is kind of noble. It's not really, but it's kind of. But there are lots of other Ventru whose blood compulsion is horrible, right? Like there's Ventru who like, oh, I only drink the blood of children, or I only drink the blood of,
virgins.
Like whatever it is, right? Like I only drink the blood of people I victimize. I only drink the blood of virgins or whatever it is. Like there's a bunch of different weird Ventru compulsions, some of which can be kind of based in something good, and some of which can be based in something completely horrible, right?
In LA by Night, the Ventru characters was they had to know who he was. He was like he was like a YouTube or not, well, like a streamer, and what do you call it?
Oh, that's interesting.
The Facebook
influencers
and stuff. Yeah, in
social media.
If they didn't know who he was, then like there's one scene where he's visiting with the Nosferatu, and they serve a rat to everybody, and he drinks the rat, and then when the Nosferatu leaves the room, he spits it up, and he looks over at his Toreador friend, and he says, "That rat had no idea who I was."
That is funny.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So yeah, Jack has a weird. He's got a weird compulsion, but yeah, it's got to be people that to him intrinsically fit the profile that he has of like a criminal, and generally that means someone who's has victims, and that doesn't have to be specifically like, oh, they hit someone or they sexually assaulted someone or something like that. Like you can classify, and does classify drug distributors as criminals. It's just based on a different perspective of like, oh, they're victimizing the addicts who buy from them, right? Like, so it's a broad range, but fundamentally, at the end of the day, Jack has to feel.
Yeah, in the end, what it is Jack sees them as a criminal. It doesn't matter if if the law sees them as a criminal. Even.
Yeah, it's fully subjective. There's a lot of overlap, but not completely, right? So.
It's bummer. I thought I found you a loophole.
No, I can't just be like, hey, Johnny, like, smoke a blunt. Oh, that's a misdemeanor in this state. You're a criminal. I'm just
jaywalk.
Jaywalk.
Well,
literally.
That's what law enforcement was doing in this country for a while, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Out of curiosity, would he just be able to get away with saying, "Oh yeah, I Googled her," even if he didn't? With
Say that again.
Would Jack be able to get away with saying I Googled her, even if he didn't?
Yeah, can they test it?
Googling's pretty complicated. I don't think you can just secretly. Well, I mean,
no, like if you could just like pretend.
I mean, you could claim that someone's your ghoul.
Yeah, you can claim.
It's not like they could test that a blood bond exists.
Yes,
I think.
I know someone who could test if a blood bond exists.
I think.
But you refuse to be blood
does that affect
anybody
if they're already alive?
I think Jack will.
Ghouls are alive.
Yeah,
I know, but I'd have to go back and look at her ability. But yeah, she can sense. Yep. She can sense the bond. I don't think it's limited to living or dead.
Also, if you feed from a ghoul, or like this guy is that guy's ghoul, so you're feeding from him because, just to secretly get one up on him, and then you're like, this guy's not a fucking ghoul. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. If we're in a circumstance where it's very much looking like everybody's about to find out, like Jack is like fully, basically feels like, okay, like people are about to find out that his daughter knows. He's going to as much as he hates it, he's going to very heavily, strongly propose the idea that he ghouls her, just to protect her, which is similar. Well, it's not very similar. He brought his wife into it because he wanted to still have a life companion, and he wanted to be able to continue to live his life with his wife fully, and that meant bringing her into the world that he got forcibly dragged into, hoping that she was willing to go into it with him, and to an extent she was. But with his daughter, I don't think his hope was that the three children would just get through life and be safe and just live their lives and just hopefully not have to deal with any of the problems that are going on in the background. But if he has to ghoul his children to save them, he will. But I don't know. That's the kind of thing that'll push Jack to like the breaking point psychologically.
Well, I mean, the bullying is temporary though, too, right? Like, you can just stop doing it after a while, and then.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, if you stop ghouling them, then all of a sudden they're out of the blood bond, and now it defeats the point of they've been integrated into masquerade, and now they need to be taken out, basically.
Oh, yep. Okay, so physically you can't, socially you can't.
Like Hector mind wiped his gym.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. It's just the mind wipe isn't always universal,
It also hadn't been that long. Like, if he were to stop ghouling his wife and then mind wipe her, she's going to grow 20 years older over 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's another circumstance of why he really doesn't want to ghoul his kids. Is he's going to put them in this weird position where they're going to stop aging.
Yep.
And it's a whole thing. Like, it's ideally he just wants them to live their lives. And eventually Jack doesn't really have a plan, but he's hoping things can work out, and he can, like, obviously in an ideal world, I think Jack would probably like to just freaking renegade, join the Second Inquisition, like kill all the creatures and integrate the ones who are good, and like establish a new paradigm of coexistence with humanity, and let the vampires all just die off naturally. But obviously that's not going to happen.
I mean, it's worked before, right? Like in the first city. There's a history of it.
The first city was.
Or am I thinking of something else?
Was really.
But how long did
bad
that last?
Vampires enslaving humans.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, I'm sure some of the vampires would say, yes, it worked exactly as it should have.
Yeah, that's
Why can't
exactly
we go back
how
to
it
that?
should be. We need to go back to
First
that.
city, man.
Yeah.
Good old days.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
No.
I forgot about the slaving part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, vampires and slavery kind of go hand in hand in this setting.
I don't like the
God
word, but that's
destroyed
what
that
it is.
City. God flooded that city.
There we go. Correct.
And killed off the second generation.
Yeah. Jeez, vampires suck. Why do we suck so bad?
So what? Like,
We
so
literally suck.
Well, literally.
are you guys basically cool with having the next session be like? I think there's a lot of things that
I
Jack
am.
said.
Yeah,
that
the
the
next
group
session just needs to
unpack.
be talking. Because who knows? If you guys follow Jack's lead, then you're not even going to pursue hunting Ortiz. So, that's all up to you guys. You guys need
Look,
to
if we wanted to enter a kind of paradigm where Jack feeds targets, which would pretty much be Sabat targets, like...
Oh, and then we also
what I
have a
have in
lot
mind
of...
is we could pull off Ortiz. We have other leads that aren't even vampire related.
Yes, you do.
We don't know that. We don't know whether they're vampire related or not, but they could be, and that's why I was saying that questions. Like, you may some of them we may present to you. And go, I don't know anything about that, but
I think that is going to have to. I think we're going to have to have that be our next session.
Oh yeah, your next
Because
session
if
is
we
going to be
start
sitting down
even
and talking
thinking about
this
it now, we're going to hang up and be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Yeah,
to plan
next
for
session will be
either.
like,
it's just gonna be
okay.
you guys talking for 2 hours, and I'm fine with that. These are our greatest fucking sessions ever. So, yeah.
Well, also, well, sorry, I cut out a little bit. But we also have a lot of... I'm pretty sure there's going to be something in the text messages that Jasper got, too.
Nah, I mean, maybe.
There's...
But everything
Because,
is
like,
in
he was
code.
going to actually...
He doesn't...
Yeah, that's true.
No, the Camarilla using text messages to talk kindred business is a death sentence. And in fact, Jack is the one that has to carry that out now.
Oh,
yeah.
It was Ortiz's job.
I was going to ask,
favorite thing.
what would breaking that code be, though? Like, if he were to try and actually, like, look into that, would that be, like, intelligence and streetwise, or...
Well, not very much conversation is even happening in code. Most of the recent conversations that he has are either meet me here or personal conversations with his family.
In person or with courier.
Yeah, anything that is sensitive is done with courier, or it's just sent as, meet me here at this time. And that's it.
Right.
Things that are
so,
at this time, then you can
80s
go back
level
and look.
of...
Yeah, they're not supposed to be using the internet for anything. But Prince James is understanding of that not only on a level where his elites he's allowing to use it if he trusts them, but then he's allowing others to use it as part of their disguise. I mean, if your disguise is having a human family, like Jack's is, Ortiz's is, then you gotta have a damn phone. So that's the only thing it is allowed to be used for. And who knows? Maybe they have people watching those.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Like Private Ryan.
Oh.
Okay. Anything else? I'm ready to go to bed.
I was going to say the
Yeah,
voice
yeah, I
acting at
think
the end
that's
by
it for
both of you two could be voice actors in a video
yeah.
game. That was so good.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic.
Oh, genuine, yeah.
I could.
Yeah,
Or
he
like,
totally blew
great
me
job.
away.
I appreciate that.
or narrate like YouTube horror stories. Like I can see you doing that.
Okay. I'm gonna cut the recording. Thank you guys
All right.
for
Well,
for
it was a
watching. I hope
pleasure.
you
I had a
enjoyed
real
it as much as I did,
Oh,
and
it's still
we are done.